All right, all right, all right. It's Thursday. Listen, I can't believe it's already Thursday, people. I told my wife earlier today, this feels like it's supposed to be like Wednesday, but it's Thursday. And it's Thursday at 8 o'clock. So it's time for the Real Money Coach, right? So listen, we are excited about tonight. Tonight, we're actually going to have a topic that I'm very personally interested in and have been wanting to learn more and more about. And so it's going to be about self-directed IRAs. We're going to be doing that. Brad Hudson is already on it. He said, I'm Brad Hudson from Huntersville, North Carolina. Please put into the chat box where you are watching from. And I know that we're streaming to all platforms, to our Facebook. But if you're on Facebook, we ask you to share and all those good things. And, listen, we're really excited. And there's a lot going on as always. This is September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. Hello, Alice Martin. Hello, Ruth Bell. The regulars are falling in. Listen, everybody, come on, be a part of this party we call the Real Money Coach. I do want to say this, man. If you did not see last week, it was really quite the show. It was probably one of the more challenging ones that I did because my heart was just really beating and going out to her. And of course, I'm very close to the story, but yeah, pretty awesome story. Listen, we got Timothy Day that's in the house from Durham, North Carolina. We got Miss Bonita Harris from Charlotte, North Carolina. You guys are falling in. Tell your family and friends that we're going to be talking about a great topic tonight. And I think it's really important for what we do. I talk to a lot of people that have money. Let's be honest. Most people have most of their, let's just say, investments, their wealth inside of 401ks or 403bs and those type of things. And, we really believe in diversifying. My mama always said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You guys have heard me say that before, even if it's my basket, right? And so we often recommend that people do something different. And so we're going to bring you some great information about that tonight. Next week, we're actually going to have Miss Shirley Liu from First Financial Security. She's going to be our guest. She has a book called IUL ASAP. And so our team, our agent team, we're going to be studying that book over the next month or so. But she's going to be our guest. We're going to be talking about IUL's, talking about her book and all that good stuff. And so we're excited about this month. We're excited about celebrating. And listen, guess what? Today, it's almost a national holiday. Does anybody know what holiday today is? Somebody put it in the chat box if you know what today is. It is a holiday. This is actually the second one. We've had a holiday on Saturday too. So that could be a big hint for you if you know what today is. So I'm just looking for somebody to put it in the chat box. What holiday is it? It's a holiday. You got to know what it is, right? So listen, let's do this. I want to bring on my good friend, my wife's roommate from college, our friend for 30 years. That's a long time. 30 years friendship. And we just love the Mitchells, the Jacksons and the Mitchells are very close. So let's bring on Michelle Mitchell and see how Michelle is doing.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Do you know what holiday today is?
I know what the holiday is because my husband reminded me of the holiday before I left.
What holiday is it?
Football season started.
Boom, you got it.
So now I get to become the football widow during football season. Football has all of his attention.
Football has all his attention. Well, it doesn't have all my attention, but I tell you what, I do enjoy football, especially college football. So I had a great time watching the games on Saturday and
Maybe that's
Sunday.
why he wanted to do date night on a Wednesday.
Who wanted to do date night on a Wednesday?
My husband. He was
He
like,
wanted to do it on Wednesday. Yeah, there ain't no game on Wednesday.
I know, right?
Well, we still do Friday. Yeah, and even though that normally our Armada Western, a lot of times they actually play on Friday. So we don't get a chance to watch them because it is date night. But we do usually catch the Maize and Blue on Monday.
Oh my God.
Or on Saturday. And I know Tony is a big Michigan State fan, so he's watching them. And then the NFL starts tonight. So
I know.
So we're excited about watching the games and all that good stuff. I don't really watch much TV, Michelle, until football season. So when football season comes, if you look at my calendar, I have certain games on there. It's because if I don't on the calendar, just like, but date night's on the calendar too, right? So it's not like So even though I know every Friday what's going to happen, so So tell me, Michelle, what's been going on? What's new? Anything in Kalamazoo or Michigan? I know Tony sent me an email. There's some exciting developments going on in the city and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, there's some really exciting developments in the city of Kalamazoo. There's a lot of growth happening in the economic area. So there's a lot of support going on for small businesses. The chamber is getting more involved. There's a lot of buildings going up. There's cranes downtown. So anytime you see cranes, right? What is that a sign of?
That's a growth. It's
a sign of growth, right?
Yep.
So we have cranes downtown. So everybody just, I've been telling everybody now is the time. Like we're coming out of a year and a half of changed life. Life is not going to be the same as it was before. So you got to be ready. The time that we spent in lockdown should have been a time of preparation. And those who are prepared will be on the uptick of the growth, right?
Right. So it's the new normal, right? I think we have to understand that we're going to live with a certain element of COVID. So you might as well be prepared to be masked up, vaccinated. We just got an email yesterday because the cruise that we've qualified for next year, actually, they're like, listen, we just want to let you know you ain't getting on this boat if you don't have a vaccination card.
Right.
We're kind of watching this thing. And as you know, when we traveled to DR, it was the same thing. So so we're watching it. I'm not quite, I love football, but I don't think I'm ready to go to a game. Because as I looked at the games, right, and I've been in Michigan Stadium, been in some of these stadiums, there ain't no social distancing.
No,
not at all. And everybody's talking, screaming in each other's face. I'm like, I don't think I want any parts of that right now. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold out on that. So awesome. So, and then of course, kids are back to school. College kids are back, and they're doing their thing. And so I know that keeps the traffic flowing in Kalamazoo and all that good stuff.
But one of the surprising things this year, usually traffic is really bad. Soon as school starts, the kids are coming back and stuff. Not so much this year.
Okay.
Slight uptick, and we did ask about attendance, and attendance is down. So,
really?
Yeah.
So at the university?
At the university.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Lisa's, real concerned, of course, seeing what's going on in the schools and the number of kids that are on quarantine because of either being exposed or, having COVID, those type of things. And then they're elementary kids, so they can't get vaccinated. So, we're really going to have to kind of figure this thing out. And then what does it mean economically?
Right.
Is the other piece, and one of the things that I talk about in presentations lately is how they've done different things in terms of printing money to kind of keep the stock market going and all these type of things, and what's going to happen with some of that stuff. If we go through any type of normal or repeat, I guess, of a shutdown,
Right.
economically it could have a big impact.
Yeah, it can. And not to mention, unemployment in most states ended on the 31st, right?
Yes. So
Right.
you're talking about the extra $300 that they're
Yeah.
getting. Yeah, a lot of that ended. And
Yeah.
then the other thing, and we had someone, of course, as you know, on the show talk
Hmm.
about the moratorium on foreclosures
Right.
and
And that
evictions.
ended. Yep.
And that's also ending. And
Yeah.
so, but that could create some opportunities for
It
other
could.
people, for
Hmm.
investors. And that's
Yeah.
why tonight's topic is really, really important, is
Yeah.
because
I'm really excited about tonight's topic.
yeah, I am too. I am too. So, I've been studying up on it a little bit just as clients have asked about it to be able to tell them exactly kind of how it works, but
Right.
I didn't have the detail. And then even some realtor clients, said, well, if you know anyone, they could do a self-directed, but it never really had anyone to send them to
Hmm.
that I knew.
Hmm.
And then I was in the car with Michael Roberts, and we were talking about my book, actually.
Hmm.
So let me plug in for the iPad Your Money book coming out October-ish, right? So
October-ish.
October-ish, right? We're working on it. We're working on it. We're about there. And, we were talking about that, and we got to talking about self-directed IRAs. And he immediately called our guests on the phone and say, hey, I'm sitting here with this guy, da, 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 da. And so from then, we had a conversation. And so sharp lady. I think it's going to be a great show, sharing a lot of information. And we could use a little bit lighter show this week
Yeah,
than
I
last
know.
week, right?
Last
So
week.
that was a real heavy story. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Harris, Dr. Benita Harris. Congratulations on the book. Listen, you can pre-order your book at ipadyourmoney.com, and we're gonna have a book launch at some point, as soon as we find out when the final edits will be done. So looking forward to that. Thank you all for, some of you might be in the book. You don't know, you might be in the book, but the story, Janice from last week, their story is in the book. Of course, she came in and shared that story, so it was just so powerful,
Was.
about the importance of having life insurance,
Hmm.
about the importance of not waiting, putting those things in place. And it's always back one of those things. If I knew back then when I was younger what
Right.
I know now, what would
Yeah.
I have done different?
Yes.
And so that's why we want to get this information to millennials. We want to
Yeah.
get them to the 30 somethings, the 20 somethings, the people who are young and great health. Now, if you haven't done those things, it's not too late. We can still put
Yeah.
some things in place.
Mhm.
But that's our goal, is to change the trajectory and to close the racial wealth gap, right?
Absolutely.
And also, it's not just a racial wealth gap, right? There's
Yeah.
also a gender wealth gap.
Agenda work. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
absolutely.
know you're passionate about ladies and being
Yeah.
in business and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, we got to close those gaps
Yeah.
because it's important. And, so that our next generation will be
Mhm.
more wealthy than we are.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
listen, I am going to introduce, I'm going to introduce Renika. She is with an organization called Advanta IRA. I think that's how you say it. It is one of the nation's top self-directed plan administrators. And she is an undergraduate of Lindenwood University. She has an MBA from the University of Phoenix as a business development specialist. She educates clients and investors about self-directed IRAs, how to use those to invest in real estate, how to use it to invest in other alternative assets. And one of the important things I think is whenever you are, I think Brian Tracy, I heard this say one time in a meeting, is that you have to believe in your product enough that you own it. Now, if you're selling Boeing jets, you might not own one of those. But for the most part, for most of us who are in the marketplace, if you don't believe in it enough to own it yourself, it's hard to convince someone else that they should, for the most part. There's exceptions to the rule. But one of the things I love about her bio line that she sent me is that she self-directs her own retirement. Mm-hmm. And so if she didn't think it was a good idea and she wasn't doing it herself, then we might have some questions. But she is self-directing her own. So you have to be a product of your product. And so with great pleasure, I would like to bring Renita to the screen to say hello to everybody.
I think it's playing out. Hi.
There we go. We got you now. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe. It's, truly an honor to be here. It's good to be with Tony. Michelle, thank you so much for the opportunity just to, talk about what's something I'm really passionate about.
Well, that's one of the things. Michelle she's coined that thing that says, turn your passions to profit. So she's all about it. She's all about it. And so, just me having been in this space for about 24 years, doing insurance and retirement planning and talking to people that have IRAs and 401ks and et cetera, it's come up many times about self-directed IRAs. And so, as I mentioned, you might have heard it, you were backstage. When I was in the car with Dr. Roberts, he's like, we were talking about it. He says, well, I got somebody. And so he called you on the phone, and that's how we were introduced. And so, you're just like a few people away from everybody you need to know, right? And
6 degrees of separation.
yeah. And here, and this guy's a billionaire,
yeah,
and just takes the time to introduce two people like you and I. And I'd like, how awesome is that? So
it's truly a pleasure just to he's such a giver in terms of just willing to help our community and just reach back and teach and share. So it's truly an honor just to have the ability just to ask him questions.
Yeah, it is. And, myself and Marlon, a couple others, we're in a mastermind group with him where we talk every Thursday morning. And he just drops some knowledge that's just, it's pretty awesome. So it's a pretty cool privilege just to be, that close to him and get that information. So how did you actually meet Dr. Roberts?
Again, like he had the opportunity to, he's always willing to knowledge share and reach back and networking. I personally graduated from Lindenwood University, which is, in St. Louis, the college that he also attended. So just, through mutual, networking and friends, and obviously with our alma mater was just great synergy and, just reading his books and, so.
So you're from Missouri.
No, I'm originally from Bahamas, actually. I went to college in St. Louis to University. Yeah.
Okay. So, because I was going to say, my wife's family is from Carruthersville, Missouri. I'm like, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's outside. I mean, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes from St. Louis or something like that. And it's where Cedric Entertainer is actually originally from. He went to elementary school there before moving to St. Louis. And so, so down there in the sticks for sure. Right?
Yes. St. Charles is about 20 minutes from St. Louis. So yeah, not too far.
Got it. So right now, you tell us a little bit about your position and where your office is located and what you do.
Okay, absolutely. So again, my name is Fanika Lightborn. I'm truly happy to be here. So I currently work as a business development specialist for Advanta IRA. We take pride in being one of the leading business.
Looks like it froze up.
But I'm in the Atlanta office. We work with clients nationwide. So we work with clients using, wanting to use their IRA funds to invest in alternative assets. And we can talk about the different options available to you.
Okay, awesome. Now, I know that there's, you have some competitors out there that I was familiar with. I wasn't familiar with your company, but I never really knew anyone, like I mentioned, personally. So if you don't mind, what's the difference, just on a basic level, what's the difference between a regular IRA and a self-directed IRA, kind of high level?
Okay, great question. So typically that's one of the most common questions we get, like, okay, why haven't I heard about a self-directed IRA? It's simply because just, most IRAs are held at the typical banks and brokerage firms. And, their business model is stock, bonds, mutual funds, whereas a company like us at Advanta, we only hold alternative assets. So how we differentiate ourselves, not even just from the publicly traded assets, within our space also, is just providing our clients, high quality concierge style service. When I talk to clients, they want to know, well, why haven't I heard about this? Believe it or not, it's been around since the 70s, but our role is to, educate, grow the space, and, let people know this is an option for them. But we focus on quality of service, that concierge style, and then, of course, education.
Well, and I don't find that strange at all, because a lot of the products and stuff that I do on an insurance side, annuity side, people have never heard of them before. Right. And they've been around forever.
A long time.
But it's gone around the conference room table, but never really gotten out to the masses. Yeah. And so self-directeds have been around since the 70s.
Exactly. The IRS, when you look at the IRS website, they don't, list. There's only a few restrictions, and I can kind of deep dive into that, but it's near limitless in terms of what you can invest in. Again, most IRAs are held at the banks and brokerage firms, and their business model is, hey, stocks, bonds, but it's not that you can't buy real estate or, a digital asset or something else in your IRA. You just can't do it with them. Mm-hmm. But it's been around since the 70s. Let me give you this statistic. There's 36 out of money, 12 trillion of which is in IRAs, but only less than 4% of that is actually self-directed. So that lets you know that there's still a lot of room to grow.
Okay. So you broke up a little bit, but you said less than 4% of IRAs are self-directed.
Self-directed, yes.
Okay. And do you think part of that, well, obviously part of that is people don't know, but do you think some of it is people fear of going into a self-directed, or they have this comfort level? What I find is people have a comfort level. So if I have a stock option plan, if I have a 401k and it's with XYZ company, I won't name any, but there's a comfort level there. And so now when you tell me in the process, my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I can roll out some of my IRA, we'll just say IRA now, because I do want to ask about 401ks. But now I can then choose which investments I want to get into, rather than just having the list that they give me at annual enrollment time, that I can pick this company, the American Funds, or this company, those type of things.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what a self-directed IRA is. You as the account owner, you have complete control over, the retirement funds. You have complete control over your investment decisions. There's a number of reasons as to why someone may want to self-direct. It can be, hey, I'm simply tied up the stock market. I don't try to pit self-directing against the stock market. I just say it's an additional tool in the toolbox. So meaning, hey, if you're tired of the ups and downs, or not, familiar with or unsure about the stock market, you can use IRA funds to invest in the likes of, say, real estate, because we know it always holds some value. Or, typically if you have an old 401k that's just sitting idle, you can elect to roll those funds over to make your next investment, as opposed to, say, taking out a personal loan or tapping into your savings. And of course, the tax benefits, having those rents, those profits, those dividends flow back into your account tax-free. That's one of the, the biggest reasons as to why someone may choose to self-direct.
Awesome. Go ahead, Michelle.
So if you were, okay, because I'm always coming from the business side, right? Mm-hmm. So you're either starting a business or you have a business that's growing, and you have this money sitting in your 401k account. Now you can designate it as self-directed and invest in your own business.
So you can there's a plan to invest in your own business. It's called a ROBS plan, a rollover business starter plan to start your own business. But certainly if you're self-employed or you have a side business, there's certain requirements for a solo 401k, but you can certainly use those funds, not necessarily with a solo 401k to invest in your own business, but to diversify and invest in different assets. If you're looking to start start a business or you want to invest in a business, you can use what's called a ROBS plan. And that's a little bit more complex, but it is an option for you.
Now, as far as the business organization, does it have to be an LLC or S corp, or is there
for
restrictions?
For a ROBS plan, if you wanted to use your retirement funds to start your business, it has to be a C corp. If it's if you're just looking to have a solo 401k, you can be a sole prop. You can, whatever entity that you have, as long as you have earned income from your business and not have any employees for a solo 401k. Or if you have employees, it's certain criteria, meaning they can't be over, the age of 21, have worked for you for 3 years consecutively, and work more than certain hours, like 1,000 hours.
Okay.
So solo 401k is specifically just if it's just you as the entrepreneur, your spouse, or a business partner. If you're looking to do a ROBS plan, invest in your business, then you can roll those funds over into that specific plan to start your business.
Okay, so basically, what you're describing is a self-directed 401k, solo 401k.
Yeah, you can. With us, we have. So most people ask, well, what type of account can be self-directed? When I tell you any type of IRA, the ones that you're already familiar with, like the traditional IRAs, the Roth IRAs, if you're, those are for individuals. But if you're, again, a business owner, entrepreneur, you can self-direct a SEP, simple, or solo 401k.
Okay.
A lot of investors who are entrepreneurs like the solo 401k because you have so much flexibility, higher contribution limits, a lot more flexibility.
Sure. So what is the advantage of doing, so if I'm doing a self-directed solo 401k, again, the benefit is I have more investment options to fund that 401k.
You have the ability to add, higher contributions, but the investment options are still the same in terms of, what you can invest in an IRA and a solo 401k. It's just the contribution limits are higher with the solo 401k. So for instance, if you have a traditional IRA, you can put in $6,000 a year if you're 50. If you're under 50. With a solo 401k, you can possibly put up to $58,000 or $64,500 if you're over 50. So a lot of business owners like that.
Yeah.
That option.
Absolutely. But that would be the same. Yeah, exactly. So, and then now those contributions become, tax deductible, and then you're deducting them now, but when you pull the money out, you're going to pay taxes on it later on.
Well, with a solo 401k, you get to contribute twice. Once as the employee, and then of course the employer match. The employee portion with our plan at Advanta, you have the ability to have it as a Roth component, meaning after tax dollars. So when you take those out, you have no tax liabilities at retirement. Obviously, with a full Roth account, you can certainly, invest with after tax dollars.
Sure. And so you can basically split it where the corporation portion is going into a traditional, and then the employee portion is going into the Roth.
That's exactly right. So yeah, the employee portion is always tax deferred. The employee portion contribution, you have the option to have it as a Roth component.
Got it. Makes sense. Now, where I think the conversation can really go is because most of the time when someone's talking to me about a self-directed, they're either asking two questions, and you answer one of them: starting my own business, using my retirement funds to start my own business. The second question is buying real estate, and that's very, very popular. I know that there are some restrictions in terms of the real estate, but kind of talk a little bit about using self-directed in the real estate market.
Okay. So, great question. I just want to say high level, if this is a new concept for you, just take away three things. First and foremost, know that any IRA or former employer plan qualifies to be self-directed. 2, you choose the investment that works best for you. So if real estate is your thing, absolutely have complete autonomy to do that. And then, of course, knowing that all of the income generated from that investment will flow back into the IRA. If there's any expenses associated with that investment, so if it's a rental property, you got to pay property tax or pay, a contractor, it'll be paid out of the IRA. When it comes to, investing in real estate, that's how I initially got started with my self-directed account about 4 years ago. So real estate is one of my preferred option. It's based on your discretion, when it comes to real estate, you can, look to invest in, say, the likes of a single family rental home. You can do, more so condos, commercial property, you name it, fix and flip projects. You can invest in raw land. It's just whatever your strategy is. The process with that is,
you still need a good realtor. You need a good realtor.
Yeah, absolutely. So with us, you have to go out and find the investment. Advanta doesn't have the investment for you to choose. So you have to work with your realtor. You have to go driving for dollars or, plug into your local, real estate group. However you find it, you find the investment. We just help you dot the I's and cross the T's to make sure it's titled in the name of the IRA. But when it comes to actually the few rules and restrictions to be mindful of, with real estate specifically, you can't live in the property, so it has to be an investment property. You can't do any of the work on the property. You get to oversee and decide what needs to get done. So say if it's a rental property and you need to get it rent ready, or if it's a fix and flip, you decide, hey, I need to change the painting or do something, but you can't physically, pick up the hammer and do it, or pick up the paintbrush. You have to hire it out to a third party or a contractor of some sort.
Gotcha.
All of the rental income from that flows back into the IRA. The IRS isn't beating down the door to see if you're the person, again, mowing the lawn on the property, but if you know the rules, you want to follow it. It has to be an investment property. You can certainly look to partner with your IRA, or have your IRA partner with other investors. We often see that a lot of times.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. But the key thing to remember with real estate, the property itself will be titled in the name of the IRA. So for instance, it'll be Advanta IRA FPO, which is for benefit of John Doe, his account number. That's the titling to show that the IRA is the owner of that property. And then of course, if the IRA is the only party involved in the deal, then the IRA is going to be the person that's actually purchasing the property outright, or, using, some type of leverage. And we can talk about that in more detail. If it's a rental property, the income flows back into the IRA. If it's a fix and flip, flows back into the IRA without any tax liabilities. If you're making the purchase directly in the IRA, you can have, you would send us the invoice to take care of any expenses related to that investment.
Sure.
And then of course you can have a property manager that oversees the property if you choose to, or you can just have the tenant send the check directly to Advanta. Sometimes our clients like to have the tenant send the check to them. You don't deposit it into your personal account. You just want to check to make sure they're paying on time, and then you redirect that check to Advanta to be deposited into your account.
So listen, if you put that check in your account, you're going to get a penalty. That profit has to go back into the IRA. Mm-hmm. But it still gives people an opportunity, I think, a lot when it comes to real estate, to play in the real estate market that may not necessarily have the cash to do it. Now, what about the IRA actually financing the property? So the IRA is putting the down payment. How does that work? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So even if your IRA has all the money to purchase the property outright, sometimes an investor don't want to your point, put all your eggs in one basket. Maybe you want to, if you have 100,000, maybe you want to spread that out over, 2 properties. If you wanted to use, use IRA funds and use leverage to purchase property in your IRA, you can certainly do that. There's some key rules to be mindful of, though. The loan type would have to be a non-recourse loan. So you can purchase the property outright if you have all of the money to do so. But if you don't have all the money, or if you do have all the money and just don't want to tie it up all in the property, you can use what's called a non-recourse loan. So let's just say properties, 100,000, you decide, I want to use leverage. You can certainly do that. It would have to be a non-recourse loan, meaning you as the account owner, you're not personally guaranteeing that loan. The only recourse the lender would have would be the actual IRA that's taking out the loan based on the actual asset itself. The only recourse the lender would have would be to foreclose or take possession if the property is not, if the loan's not repaid. So if property is, say, 100,000, and you're going to put down, say, 40,000 as a down payment from your IRA, and then take out a non-recourse loan for the remaining 60,000. You'll work with your non-recourse lender. We have a long list of them that we can refer out to you. With a non-recourse loan, though, it is subject to what's called UDFI tax, unrelated debt finance income tax. In an IRA scenario, it comes into play when you use leverage. So property is 100,000, you put down 40,000 as a down payment, you take out a $60,000 non-recourse loan, you fix the property up and you sell it. 40% of the profits will flow back into that IRA without any tax liability, because again, that's the amount that you put down. But because you use leverage, it's going to be subject to UDFI tax on that 60% until that loan's repaid off. That's in an IRA. However, in a solo 401k, which is why a lot of real estate investors like it, it's not subject to that UDI of tax. So same scenario, 100,000 down, put 100,000 for the property, you put down 40,000, take out a non-recourse loan for say 60,000, you fix the property up and you sell it, 100% of that profits will flow back into that solo 401k without being subject to that UDFI tax, even though you use leverage to purchase it. So that's one of the great advantages of a solo 401k.
That's deep.
That
really I know it's going a lot of this could be going over people's head. But the important thing that you got to remember is that if you're sitting on a large 401k or an IRA, that if you are eligible to roll it over, you can take that, talk to an expert, and be able to figure out how you want to buy property. Make sure that you're dealing with you don't want to deal with a novice real estate agent either. You want to deal with someone that knows what they're doing and how all this works.
Exactly.
Now, there's times when if you're still working and you have an active 401k and you want to roll that money over. I think I know the answer to some of this, but tell us some of the rules there.
So that's usually a common question. So most times, if it's a former employer plan, you can move it, no issues. Former employer plan or an existing IRA, you can transfer or do a direct rollover. If it's a current employer plan and you're not 59 and a half, meaning you've not reached retirement age, most times, unfortunately, that employer would restrict you. That plan administrator will restrict you from moving those funds. You can double check with them, inquire just to see if they'll make an exception to do, like, say, an in-service transfer or an in-service rollover for a portion of your account as a current employee. But unfortunately, most times it's usually restricted if you're under 59 and a half and you're currently employed with them.
Yeah, every once in a while, we'll run into a company that will allow an in-service rollover. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's not, they don't do it. They don't allow you to do it until you're 59 and a half. I always tell people, call the question, and ask the question. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to know for certain is if your plan documents allow you to roll that money over while you're still employed.
Yes, so. And then that's exactly right. You want to, inquire, at least, it doesn't hurt to ask them. But also, too, if you have a current employer plan, you can also have, have an IRA. Start a brand new IRA if you choose to. You can put in that $6,000 each year if you're under 50, $7,000 if you're over 50. And that can be a way to where you can still self-direct, even if it's a current, if you're currently employed and can't touch those funds. All right.
So what about the scenario where I have a full-time job, I got my JOB, I go there full-time, we don't suggest maxing out your 401k, but you're maxing out to the match. Mm-hmm. And then I have a separate business entity that maybe I'm showing profit, maybe I'm showing 20 grand profit. Can I do my self-directed on the business side and be able to do more on the line of the solo 401 or a SEP or one of the things that will allow me to put more money in than a traditional IRA?
So you can have a W-2 job and then have a SEP or simple if you qualify for it. Absolutely. With a solo 401k, you can have a side business and still have a solo 401k. But to be mindful, to your point, if you've maxed out at the 19.5, then you can also try to put 19.5 on the employee side of your solo 401k, up to 25% of your earned income from the business.
Got it.
Right.
Makes sense. But there's a lot of use for it. And I think, again, where I see a lot of people is that they may want to buy, and I've seen it where, I want to buy a multi-family unit building or something like that. And I can go and use the money out of my 401 or use the money out of my IRA and do a self-directed, and then that will allow me to be able to do that. And ultimately what you want is you're going to get profit from it, from the rents, course, the value goes up in terms of the appreciation of the property. So, and I think too, it could be a situation where sometimes you can use that to keep property or land within the family, you know, so that you don't lose that property that may have some sentimental value for you, but you can use the self-directed to maybe purchase it and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just thinking of that, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about age restrictions?
So in terms of making a contribution, there's no age restrictions to a traditional IRA or Roth IRA in terms of wanting to make a contribution. In terms of taking out funds, then yes, you do have to be, you know, the 59 and a half, or, you know, have another qualifying reason in order to take money out. Like if you're, you know, disability, or, you know, some other circumstance, like, you know, maybe you're taking out money for a first-time home purchase or some medical related expenses or higher education. There's are certain exceptions, but you do have to be retirement age of 59 and a half. 72, they did increase the RMD age limit to 72 if you're taking out your annual required minimum distribution, but retirement age is officially 59 and a half. If you have an HSA, a health savings account, I didn't get into the different types of account, but you can certainly self-direct an HSA based on having a high deductible plan. The age for that is 55 in terms of, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Now, I don't want to get too complicated because I'm asking some questions that may be a little bit more technical. So as you were mentioning that, you're talking about the 59 and a half. Does the self-directed allow 72T calculations?
So yeah, there are certain exceptions, certain codes when it comes to, the 72 special exception. So it just depends on what that exception is, like what are you looking to take it out for? Is it, disability related? Is it a known exception, unknown exception? Like what specifically are you looking to use the exception for?
Got it. Because for a lot of you listening, there's a little utilized code called 72T, where basically if you're under 59 and a half, you can take money out of your tax qualified plan. There is a couple different methods of calculating your 72T calculation, but the biggest thing there is whatever amount that is, you're going to be locked into that amount for 5 years or 59 and a half years later. So, but there is a way, and that's how people can retire early and avoid the 10% penalty for retiring before 59 and a half.
Yeah,
you just the 72Ts.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that, if you do the 72T, to make sure that, you're able to sustain that for the life of it. Because
Sure.
if you can't, then, obviously you have to retroact and cover any of those liabilities prior to.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. You can sustain it. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely you want to confer with your CPA or, legal tax advisor. In our role, we don't give advice in that. We help you calculate your RMD. But we let you know if it's a 72T, make sure that you're aware of. You don't want to run out of cash, in that account.
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the more popular things that's out there now, investment wise. We talked about real estate. What about precious metals? Gold, silver, platinum?
Yeah, I mean, when I tell you it's near limitless in terms of what you can invest in, I harp on real estate just because it's the most common investment we typically see our clients invest in. But if you're a paper investor, say, hey, you don't want to deal with the physical, tangible property. As a paper investor, you can be lending. It may be attached or collateralized by real estate or some tangible asset, but you can do, options contract. You can do accounts receivables. You can do tax liens, tax deeds. You can invest in an LLC. I live in Atlanta, and we know it's considered the Hollywood of the South. A lot of times when they're raising money for these movie projects, they're using retirement funds. You can invest in farm animals. Like we've had clients that invest in llamas. You can invest in precious metals. Like I personally have, this is not me advocating, a type of investment, but I personally have precious metals in my IRA as well. So, it's definitely a hedge. You can invest in heavy equipment, oil and gas. There's so many things you can do. The only two things the IRS say that you cannot invest in is life insurance and collectibles. Collectibles is antique art, wine, stamps, anything of that nature, but everything else is on the table for you. So you literally have a blank canvas. I say be as creative as you want to and need to. Cryptocurrency is definitely
well, that was going to be the next one.
topic.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, all those are all part of what a lot of people are investing in now is the cryptocurrencies, precious metals, particularly. Everyone talks about gold, but my understanding, silver is the way to go.
Silver is a good return. Again, this is not me advocating an advice, but I got silver when it's at $9 or $11, and I think it's like 20 something right now. So I'm happy with that return right there.
Yeah, silver. That's and actually, we're probably going to have someone come on the show and talk about precious metals. Precious metal broker, and so. And what we can look for in terms of pairing those and knowing when to buy and all that kind of stuff. So it can be kind of fun. I tell people you can do a self-directed and have some fun, because a lot of what I do is I set people up on guaranteed lifetime income. And so now if I know that I got your guaranteed lifetime income sealed, you know that you're going to get this check. You know you're not going to be out.
Annuities, yep.
And now you can take the rest of those funds and you can be a little bit more risky with it because we have our safe money. And now you can go do a self-directed and, go after your passions. If you want to invest in a NASCAR race car, go for it. I mean, but once you know that you have the other things that are in a safe place.
Yeah, I would definitely, when people talk about alternatives, they might think it's, there's, risk, there's inherent risk in every investment, even in the stock market. I don't pit it against, I have, funds in the stock market. With self-directing, with any investment, we always encourage you, do your due diligence, make sure you're comfortable with that investment because, there's risk, there's a possibility. So for instance, with just to go back to gold and silver really quickly, you're not holding any of the assets. It's going to be held by one of the depositories, but for any other related assets, whether it's precious metals or it's oil and gas or crypto, you have to do your due diligence. Make sure it makes sense for you. The returns out there, you have there's risk, but on the other side of it, if you've done your due diligence, it has a great opportunity for some upside.
And the other thing is avoiding the shiny object syndrome.
You got to be disciplined.
Yeah, you got to be disciplined. What's the latest and greatest, and you're jumping from this investment to that investment and not really, giving anything a chance to kind of work itself out. Most of the time, I'm telling people it's a long game. I mean, it's not a quick,
No, it's not get rich. It's big picture, long term.
Yeah, long term.
I think that's why most people we see circle back to real estate because it always, retains some value. It's a tangible asset. The market goes up, the market goes down, but real estate, we know it always is, you can liquidate or pull your some equity out of it.
Right. And then if you're setting yourself up for those retirement years, real estate is a great place. Because again, we believe in there's 4 pillars to intergenerational wealth that we talk about all the time here. And that's proper management of your current assets, proper management or proper insurance and investments, real estate, right?
Yes.
Real estate and business development. Those are things that we can pass from one generation to the next, whereas, we can't always do that. And I think one of the things, just from my perspective, especially in light of this being Life Insurance Awareness Month, is that if you're holding real property, if you're holding a lot of real property inside of your self-directed, you still fall under the same rules. For example, if you're self-directed, you're holding all real estate, and you pass, and that self-directed tax qualified account IRA passes on to a non-spouse, they're going to have to pay the taxes on that or liquidate within 10 years. It used to be the stretch IRA.
That's right.
You don't have to stretch anymore. You're going to have to liquidate, pay the taxes in 10 years. And that's where life insurance can come into play, so that you can have that money to pay the taxes on that, so that now that account will then come out of being tax qualified and become generational wealth for your family without the umbrella of taxes over it.
Absolutely. And I'd say it's for self-directing, it's an additional tool in the toolbox. So you want to make sure you consult with a financial planner, a financial advisor to make sure you have, hey, retirement funds, you have insurance products. We just, try to encourage people to, like, this is an opportunity, you can do it too. You can, again, be creative, invest in what you know, what you understand, what you know is going to retain value, something that you can pass on for your to the next generation. I know with the Secure Act, that's when they kind of implemented the 10-year rule. If you have a Roth account, they still have the 10-year rule, but at least with the Roth account, they don't have to worry about, some of those immediate taxes. There may be estate taxes or, an inheritance tax based on your state, but a Roth account is something, everyone should at least look to, talk to your CPA and look to.
Well, and I think it's Roth, and we're a big proponent of tax value life insurance, because now you're talking about creating a tax-free
environment
stream of income, regardless of what age you happen to do it. So there's a lot of different options, and that's important. That's what it's all about. It's about having options.
That's all it is.
Available for you, and I always tell people, at best, this is what I am, an educator. And I'll educate you and then allow you to make the best decision that makes sense for you. For you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So
I have a question, Renika. For the average person who has a 401k, so what percent, or do you recommend a percentage going into a self-directed IRA?
Yeah, I usually tell our clients it's not end all be all, meaning the main thing to remember is you're always in control. Nothing happens until you say it does. So you can just move a portion of your account or whatever dollar amount that you need to make your investment. So if you're able to move over or roll over that old 401k or that existing IRA, just move a portion of it, just to get familiar with self-directing, get familiar with, making that alternative investment. You can always transfer back and forth. There's no tax liability to you. So say, for instance, you open up a self-directed account, you transfer funds from, you transfer $10,000 from your IRA and you go out and buy a tax lien and you end up with the property on that tax lien. And now that property is actually worth, instead of, you paid $10,000 for the tax lien, but it's worth, let's say, the property's worth $75,000. You sell that property, your IRA just went from $10,000, your self-directed IRA just went from $10,000 to $75,000. You can take the whole $75,000 and send it back to your brokerage IRA and go back in the stock market. So you don't have to move all of it, just a portion, whatever you need to make your investment.
And you can go back and forth.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really good thing if you're in a state that has tax liens. Some are tax deeds. I mean, there's some difference, according to the state that you're in. But I mean, just think about it. Just buying some tax liens,
interest or property.
Yeah. And just, holding it. And then, if the people don't come to reclaim it, if you're buying it on, a property tax sale or something, then you've just got that property.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, or if they come back to claim it, and I'm in Georgia, so in the state of Georgia, it's 20%. Not many investments are giving you 20% return. So
right. So if you buy that tax lien for $1,000, they got to come back and they got to give you $1,200 for it. That's a 20% return.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get 20% return?
Just rinse and repeat. Again, you're in complete control. Our role is just to act as the administrator, act as the record keeper, to make sure you dot the I's, cross the T's. We're not picking the investments for you. You're taking the hands-on approach of finding out what works best for you, and then we're helping you execute that within the IRA.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And as far as your fees, there's certainly some fees for administration of the self-directed.
Yeah, it's a flat administrative fee. We don't charge any commission. There's a one-time fee of $50 to open your account. When you make your investment, buy or sell, there's a transaction fee. It can be $95 depending on the type of investment, or if you're purchasing real physical tangible property like real estate, then it's $145, just because it's a little bit more cumbersome to work with that closing agent or closing attorney. And that's a one-time fee of when you buy. And then of course the administrative fee to record keep, maintain that account, do all of the IRS reporting on the back end. It's a flat fee of $295 per asset. Or we have a value option too, based on the value of your account. You can have as many assets in there, but it's just based on that flat fee.
Wow. And I'm glad we asked you that because that's far less expensive than I think most people would think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really just it's not bad at all.
No, it's you know, and you can have the funds debited directly from the IRA account itself, or you can elect to pay for it personally for administrative fees. Any fees relating to the actual investment has to be paid by the IRA. But yeah, it's definitely doable. It's cost efficient. So
that's pretty awesome. So folks, let's tell people how they can get in contact with you if they're interested in exploring the option of a self-directed. I know that there's probably some people out there that say, hey, maybe there's some things I'm interested in doing. Maybe I'm interested in getting some real estate. So there's two things we got to do. We got to get you hooked up on the self-directed, and then we got to get you hooked up with the right real estate person. But how do they get in contact with you? And if we want to refer some of our realtor contacts to you, because I think sometimes it comes through realtors, I would think that would be a good source of referrals for you as well.
Yeah, we absolutely work with a lot of investment providers, a lot of professionals, planners, real estate agents, brokers. I would say if you want to do a one-on-one consultation just to kind of do a deeper dive or talk about your scenario, you can visit our website at advantaira.com. That's ADVANTAIRA.com, or you can give me a call 678-513-8913, or you can send me an email. It's R, and then my last name is Lightborn, like light switch, and then Bourne, Jason Bourne, the movie, at advantaira.com. So I'm happy to talk through whatever your scenario is, do a recap of self-directing and see how we can help.
Listen, and if you didn't get that and you can't remember, you know how to get a hold of the Real Money Coach. We'll put you in touch with her. We'll put you in touch with Renika. We'll give you her number. We'll make an email introduction for you.
Absolutely.
And so, well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. This has been awesome.
It's very educational. Michelle, any last questions or comments that you have before?
The only comment I have really is it costs $50 to open an account. You
know what? If say Tony, the money coach, sent you, I can look to work with our accounting department to waive that opening $50 fee.
Oh my God! See, look at that.
Come on, somebody.
You have to open the account. I tell people, you have to get started. The biggest, the biggest starter to raise. I mean, the biggest hurdle is getting started. Whether you're starting with $1,000 or $1 million, you just have to get started.
Yes.
So.
Right. And I think that's important to say, and I'm glad you said that, because just like you said a few minutes ago, get in, learn how to do it, get comfortable with it, find an investment that you want. Maybe you're doing some crypto, maybe you're doing some precious metals, maybe you're doing, I don't know about Forex trading or whatever you happen to be doing in terms of investing. Maybe it's tax liens, maybe it's real estate, whatever you have to be doing, just get comfort level. And then as you go, you can always increase it. You can always do more. And so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And Advanta is a good resource. I would say check out our YouTube channel. It's a great wealth of knowledge in terms of our recordings or webinars. Any topic relating to self-directed is on there. Again, you can give me a call, but check out our YouTube channel as well.
All right. Awesome. Well, again, thank you. I'm glad that Dr. Roberts connected us. I got you plugged in so that we could send some people over your way. I can't say that it happens every day, but it does frequently happen. And I think it's very important because, again, I always tell people, don't put all your eggs in one basket, even if it's my basket. And so we're very pleased. I don't know if Chris, we could put into the comments her contact information, just so if anyone wants to contact her and ask the question. It all begins with a free conversation. And so we appreciate all of the viewers, whether you're watching us live right now or you're watching the replay. Thank you for tuning in to the Real Money Coach. And we will see you on next Thursday when our guest will be Miss Shirley Liu.